Greetings again. Just for those who have just joined recently, the student teacher Haptui is on his way and should be with us shortly. Today's question and answer session is entitled The Ontological Forces of Nature. Bear with us, he should be with us soon. I'm going to break up the recording that we did last week with a reading, short reading from the book, The Argument. So here we go. The argument. Likum, my beloved jewels of my eyes, Nuwapu, Nuwapians, I ask you, is it right to argue with those who don't know? Two, is it right to debate with those who don't know? Three, is it right to converse with those who don't know what they claim they know? Four, what is wrong with most in this day and time? Five, what is the reason so many argue about what they don't know? Six, and why don't they know? Seven, how can they argue over what they don't know? Eight, so what the great argument is all about? Nine, it's an argument about misinformation. It's an argument about mistranslation. It's an argument about misguidance. It's an argument about who is right and who is wrong. So is this argument right or wrong? Nuwapians, we all start with this point. Why do they argue? Who is arguing? Religious people are arguing between each other over who is right. What is right? Right is exact. Right is fact. Right is truth. Right is confirmation. Can one be right about what they don't know for a fact? Can one be right about what is wrong? What is wrong? Wrong is not right. Wrong is not exact. Wrong is not fact. Wrong is not truth. Wrong is not confirmation. Can one be wrong about what they don't know to be fact? Can one be wrong about what is right? My beloved Koradu, children of Nuwapu, how is it that so many are wrong about what is right? And how is it among religious people they are arguing about the same things and all be wrong, all be right? The tongue, the voice box, the voice, the mind, the larynx, the speech, the language, which is shaped into sound, which is shaped into words, which is shaped into conversation, verses, and sentences, combinations of sounds to form words, to form verses, to form conversations, to form a tongue, to form a language, and to transform these sounds onto material objects, as in inscription or writing, to preserve the thoughts or ideas, to preserve words. These can be true or false words. These can be right or wrong words. They are what those who write them claim, and those who read them argue or disagree with original records. If they disagree, that is an argument. If the book or transcription or scroll or tomb or tablet or recorded in a language, in that language, you will find the true meaning of thoughts of the recorder, not the copy or recorder, but only the original will convey the thoughts of the original recorder. Think about that. So when we have translations of different scripts, different scrolls, whether it's the Bible or Quran or the Old Testament, this confirms that when you read the original text, you get a full understanding of what's being said. When you translate these books, you lose some of the information. So this can mislead people and cause people to go astray sometimes. If you translate, you first transliterate the sound into another script to capture the sound of another language. Once that is done, the original meaning thoughts are changed. This creates the argument. I will leave it there for now. I'll return back to last week's class.
Rahubat,
Rahobat.
I'll just cover the class for a while until Habtui gets here. All right.
Okay,
You don't need to read. Yeah. Rahubat Musa, Anuki Seken Sakambre. Are there any questions that you may have at this time until Habtui gets here, based on what you've heard or what Shem has read? Or any questions you had originally anyway? If you have, just raise your hand and we will unmute you, or you can unmute yourself and ask your question. Okay, I guess no one has any questions. Oh, we've got Kobe. All right, Kobe, go ahead, unmute your mic and ask a question.
Rahubat.
Rahubat.
So just a bit that I caught there when he said before, when the master teacher was saying before a translation, it's a transliteration. Could you just expand on that and explain a little bit more?
Sure. So for those who have been studying, like if you wanted to know something, like today we have the online Bibles and online Qurans and so on, yeah? So when you go to these tools, you will see like, let's say the Arabic script, and then you will see a transliteration, which is like giving it to you how it is said in the language, and then you get the actual word. So let me think of an example. So like you might say in Arabic. In fact, let me see if I can. I'll pull up something and demonstrate and show you. It'll probably make more sense when you see it. So give me a minute to just share my screen.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that you can see it. Because when people so if you don't speak the original language, right, you would only someone would have to explain to you. Let me just share my screen. Can you see my screen? Can you see my screen?
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
All right. So I'm gonna do
Yes.
blueletterbible.org is a good tool for the Bible. And while that's loading up, I also do the Quran, which is you can go to Quran, I think it's Quran.com or Quran online. Both of these are useful for okay. So if you can still see my screen, right? You see, so like for example, here you see the word Quran this is what you call chapter 1, Al-Fatiha. You see, so what you're seeing, this is the Arabic. Remember, Arabic is written from right to left. So this is Alif, Lam, right? So you can see it says Al, and then this is F, so it's Al-Fatiha. So that the transliteration is telling you like the opener. In fact, if you actually click on let me see if I can go into it. Yeah, and with these tools, you will be able to see the, so this is like the transliteration. So if you were to read the actual Arabic, it wouldn't actually break down into this. I'm just trying to see if we can find the tools for the transliteration, because it normally would show you. I haven't, this is a new version of it. But basically, like you see the Arabic, you see the transliteration, and then you will see the, like if you were reading the Arabic, it may not automatically translate to this, what you're seeing in the English. But there's a tool, let me see if I can, yeah, there you go. You see here, right? You see it's got, at the moment, you got the translation and it's showing you the recitation. But if I click on transliteration as well, and then I'll just do reset settings. Let me see if that, okay, no, transliteration, and then let me make it dark. I'll actually leave it like that.
How, how do you translate it like from English to Kemetic language?
Right, that's hold on, we're jumping because it's not this is a Quran. The Quran is not Kemetic, it's Arabic. And the same way, if we went to the Bible, right, this is important because when people are studying, you have to know what language the book is in. So for example, this is King James Version, right? And depending on whether it's the Old Testament or the New Testament, you can then, like if I go to Genesis, I'll just go to Genesis 6:4, for example. The reason KJV stands for King James Version, but there are loads of other versions. So you hear some people who say, but in my Bible, it says something different to yours. That's depending on what version they're using. But if I just search Genesis 6:4, Genesis is going to be in Hebrew, as opposed to the New Testament, which is going to be in the Greek. So you see here, for example, you've got, if you click on the tools, it will then break down and show you the same thing where you're seeing like the Hebrew, again, is read from right to left. And then each word, so if you could read the Hebrew properly, you'd be able to just read this going along like that. But because you can't, or most people can't, then they will give you the transliteration, which is, you can see here, like it says, and it came to pass, right? So that will be, if you look at, even if you can't really read Arabic properly, you can see, the Hebrew properly, you can see it here. So it's then telling you, and it came to pass, which is this part here. And then the transliteration is here, higher. And if you went on to the when, these numbers is the Strong's number. You can see that like it's in columns. So you got the English, the Strong's, then the transliterated, the word where it's transliterated from, as you can see here. And then you also have like the pronunciation for those who may not be able to pronounce the words. But you see where it says men, for example, right, in English, in the actual transliteration, that will be Adam. Adam. But then the English will say men, because not every word from the Hebrew translates exactly into the English. You see? So again, when you say on the earth, you're seeing the word Adama. Does that make sense?
Tua. So,
So if you were just reading the words, like, okay, let me read it, yeah, from just the transliteration. So the transliteration will be Haya, Adam, Halal, Rabab, Al, Panim, Adama. If I said that, you would have a clue what I'm talking about. But that's the transliteration from the Hebrew script. To know what I'm actually saying, you would have to go, if I read that again from the top using just the English now, it's going to be, and it came to pass when men began to multiply on the face of the earth. You see, Adama. Sorry, someone was going to say something, or was that you?
no,
So,
that was me. I was just trying to say, I get what you're trying to say, but carry on now. This is good.
okay, so the surah in the first, okay, again, if you look here, these are the chapters of the Quran. So the first, this is all in the wrong order because they tell you now that Al-Fatiha is the first chapter. But originally, the first chapter would have been the 96, which is, if you scroll down, you see the 96 is here, which is Al-Alaq. So it's in the wrong order. But in the master teacher's translation of the Quran, he puts everything, he shows you the wrong order and he puts it into the right order. So if you look at this, yeah, in the Arabic, you would read it like this: Bismi. You see the word here. This is Allah, right? Because we studied Arabic, so you're sitting there saying Bismi Allah Ar-Rahmani Ar-Rahim. Yeah, you don't know if you can't read this Arabic, you're not going to be able to go Bismi Allah Allahi, even though the different versions give you slight different pronunciation. So if I was just going Bismi Allahi Ar-Rahmani Ar-Rahim, you wouldn't know what I'm talking about. So then it comes in here, like, in the name of Allah, the most compassionate, most merciful. Now, the thing is that if you, some of these tools allow you to have more than one Quran at the same time. So I'm just, like, so the one we've got here, like, you can normally, and they've got a different system of Arabic as well. So if you press Tajweed, you're going to see the actual Arabic change. You see the Arabic has changed now, where you have all of these strokes and signs on the top, right? Because Tajweed is when they introduce vowels and certain things. But what I was looking for is to see how you can normally select more than one version of the Quran at the same time. Okay, here you go. For example, right? Look at this. If we keep to that example where it says, in the name of Allah, the most compassionate, most merciful, which is what they're telling you that this is saying, yeah? Now, if I change the Quran from, yeah, here you go. This is what I was looking for. At the moment, we were looking at the Mustafa Khatab version. Now, if I click on the Yusuf Ali version, you can have more than one version at the same time. Now, check out, let me see if I can have another one. Sadiq. See, again, the brother that was asking about if you can go into the Kemet or whatever, these are the versions of the languages that they give you of it. They don't have Kemet because obviously Kemet is going into what we call the hieroglyphics and going into our language. They don't give it to you here, but I'll put Pixel as well. So now what you're going to see, if I move this out of the way, you see now I've got that same surah, right? The first one called Al-Fatiha, according to them. You see that this same Arabic, where they're telling you is Bismillahi ar-Rahmani ar-Rahim, you look at the Arabic for the Mustafa Khatab version, it says, in the name of Allah, the most compassionate, the most merciful. Now, the Pixel version says what? Look, in the name of Allah, the word is changed now. The beneficent, the merciful. You go to the Yusuf Ali one and it says, in the name of Allah, most gracious, most merciful. So already with 3 different versions, we could add more. You can see they're all slightly changing the word. So in the first one, they say most compassionate. In the Pictorial one, they say the beneficent. in the Yusuf Ali one, they're saying the most gracious. So if you don't know this as someone who doesn't speak or read Arabic, they would tell you that the Arabic of the Quran never changes, it's the same and all of that. But yet, here we're looking at 3 different versions and they're all saying 3 different things. Go ahead, Kobe, if you have a question.
Yeah, no, thank you for that. It definitely makes a lot more sense. I guess as you've been talking, it's just opened up loads more questions. So
Yeah.
the first one is okay, it comes down to Hebrew. Always want to probably Google it, but I just want to understand its purpose. Like, what was the purpose of the Hebrew Strong's numbers? Because I know it represents
Oh, okay.
language
Yeah, yeah. All right. So,
in that sense.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
Um,
before people could actually have access to like study themselves, you just relied on whatever the preacher or whatever the imam or the rabbi said to you. So what they've done is they've taken each word and broken it down, like in terms of research. So what a Strong's number does, right? For example, if we look at this word Adam, right? The Strong's number, H120, if you click on it, it goes into a breakdown on the study of that, just that word alone. So word for word of the Bible, you can, like, even if you're a layperson, you can just go, okay, what does that word mean? Look, here they show you, right, taking that word, Adam, that's a transliteration from the Hebrew. They give you the pronunciation. So, Aodam, Aodam. If you want to hear it, you can actually press the speaker button.
Strong's H120. Adam.
So it tells you how to pronounce it. Then it tells you like the type is a noun, a masculine noun. The root word or the etymology, which is telling you where this word comes from. And again, it's got the number. You can go into that if you wanted to go into the etymology of how this word came about. And then the dictionary. And then it will tell you things like in the King James Version translation, there are 552 times that word occurs. And then it gives you the like, where's man, then it's men, and then Adam, the actual word Adam. So as you're reading it, you will see like man, men, Adam, persons, and then different like variations of that word. And then again, here you have one man. They'll say mankind. One man, human being, man, mankind, much more frequently intended sense. Adam, the first man, city in Jordan. This is just giving you the outline of the biblical usage of it. Then the Strong's definition will be, look, Adam, Adam, from where it comes from the etymology, and the look, ruddy, i.e. a human being, an individual, or the species, mankind, etc. This is why when we say this is the creation or the graftation of Adam, the ruddy ray or the Adamites, ruddy, when you go and look up what the word ruddy means, another hypocrite, common sort, low man, mean or low, then it keeps going. Just gives you so much information regarding that particular word. So for example, let me show you a good word to do this too, because we break this down when you say Elohim, for example. Again, it's spelled in many ways. I'm just going to search the word this time. I'm not searching the actual verse. I'm just searching a word. Okay, see, let me just go to God, because they may spell it differently, because Elohim can be spelled differently, all right? So I just put the word God to search in the Bible, right? And it shows you literally all the occurrences of that word God in the Bible, right? You can see all the way from Genesis, and then you can now go, okay, let's see what that word actually in Genesis, like God. If we go to the tools again, open that up for that first verse, and you see again, it says God, it says in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Now it's done in that way so that they can break each word down with the strong numbers you were asking. So you see, look, now that word God in the English, if you look at the Hebrew, you see it says Elohim. Now, if you click on that word the Strong's number for that word God and go into it, it starts to doing exactly what I said to before. See, look, it says Elohim. Look how it's also spelled, pronunciation. Elohim. They do it in a way that, and you can even listen to it again.
Strong's H 430, entry 1. Eloach.
Eloach. You see, they're trying to pronounce it.
Eloach.
But there's
Second entry.
variation.
Elohim.
Okay, cool.
Elohim. And the third entry, Eloach.
I'll just pause it because we ain't got time for all that. Right, sorry. Let's go. So again, you see, look, 1, plural. It tells you here, God, 2,346 times, spelled with a capital G. Small g, 244 times. The word judge is also used for that word. God, capital G, capital O D, because this is what Christians will be playing games with people to say small g, big G, if it's spelled like this or like this or like this is different. It's not in the language. See, goddess is used twice, mighty, angels, and then you can see it here like plural, rulers, judges, divine ones, angels, gods, plural, intensive, singular meaning, God, goddess, godlike. Then he says Elohim, plural. See, that's why in the English you just see God, G-O-D, but in the actual, as you can see, Hebrew is telling you, because you see these two little last letters here. This is called a yod and this is called a meme, right? So the first part, you're reading again from right to left, you're saying Elo, and then these two make it, the meme, the yod and the meme make it a plural. So that's why they can't fool people who can study the language and look into it. Is Haptui there yet?
No.
Okay, I'll carry on. When he comes, just let me know. I'm just filling in. All right. So does that answer that question for you, Toby?
Tua, Tauta.
Okay. Any other questions? Anyone?
Yeah, is there would you able to help me on spell something in Kemetic
Could I help you? What? Sorry.
and spell something in Kemetic?
Okay. Yeah. When you say Kemetic, there's no language called Kemetic.
Oh, Kemet.
Yeah, but I'm saying, let me show you again.
Yeah.
Let me share my screen. What's happening is that I see you, Omar. Let me just finish answering the brother's question. Kemet is a term that was used, one of the names for Egypt, but that word ties into the Bible in terms of like the person called Ham, or they drafted Ham from the word Kemet, okay? Because what happens is that, sorry, let me just move this out of the way. Like people don't know the spoken language, and what they're calling Kemetic is really hieroglyphics, right? So
yeah.
I'm trying to find some hieroglyphics.
Because what I was trying to spell in hieroglyphics, there's certain words I was trying to spell, but
Yeah,
I don't know how.
I'm trying to help you out because there are different scripts of the security thing. There are different scripts of hieroglyphics, yeah, and our language. I don't know this security thing. Let me see if this. I knew I was going to do this. There are different scripts for what people are calling. It's a part. They call it the part the netuneta, yeah.
Yeah.
Let me do metuneta. Sorry, I'm just trying to get through the security crap. And they never give you clear picture. Where's the car? There's only one car. I can see that one. This is nonsense. Let me try it. Just go into Google. But yeah, so the hieroglyphics have different scripts. And if you've read any of our books, let me just put Egyptian writing, because just make it simple so they can Egyptian writing. Yeah, so that you've got different types of scripts. And if you've read any of our books, you will see that over the years, right here we go, over the years, we were taught that and shown the different scripts. So for example, let me use images. Right. So what you're seeing here, this is what people call the metoneta or the hieroglyphics. So like if you look at trying to find any other examples, like this, for example, is showing you again like what they call, you see the alphabet.
Yeah.
So then you could look at a word and then based on these pictorial drawings, you could then pick up the word. But the thing is, when you're looking at how it's written in the
I
pictorial,
can't see it. It's the same Google.
Sorry, I'm not sharing the right screen. 1 second. Let me share it again. Thanks for telling me, because sometimes people don't say anything. You be looking for ages and they're not seeing what you're saying. Right. Can you see it now?
Oh yeah, I can see it, yeah.
Right. So this is what the pictorial form of what they will call the hieroglyph. So like if you look at like this one here, you see you got like what they call like the alphabet, A, B, C. But a lot of the Europeans don't know, like you can actually read it. Like when you look at it like this, for example, let me just make that a bit bigger. You could read it going up, down, left, right. And so it doesn't always, people don't always know what they're doing in terms of the transliteration. But this is where we're telling people that the original language, our language that we speak called Mispatia, right? This was one of the scripts for that language, but they didn't know it had a spoken language to it. So when you're saying that people are just transliterating the letters, as in the metoneta, it will give you an idea, but you're not going to know the full secret depending on like where you're reading it, up, down, left, right, or right to the left. So yeah, this is what Miss Batia, our language, this is just one of the oldest scripts. And then you also had like the cuneiform. So depending on which books you're reading, the language is key in terms of you know what I mean, like trying to decipher what it is. All right, does that help?
Not really, but
okay, what is it that it's not helping you?
I understand it, but I just find it difficult how to read it or translate it. It's like
yeah, that's
I
what
need
I'm
a
saying.
bit
That we teach you this
yeah.
in our scrolls, in our books of how to read it.
Yeah.
But you
Because
have
like
to study.
I wanted to know how to say like words like shining
Shining.
in shining in hieroglyphics.
Yeah, you're not gonna get that because that's what I'm saying. Like English words don't always translate into the language. So doing it back to front, you really should be studying Miss Batia nowadays.
Right. Okay.
All right.
All
So
right, makes sense.
we got the language book, so you can start there. Or if you read any of the scrolls when we were actually studying this, you see that the language, we can teach this because we've got in the books, the prayers. Like, for example, if you look at the gold book, have you got the gold book?
No, this is my first class today.
Oh, okay. In the gold book, it teaches you how to read the script of hieroglyphics properly.
Right. Right.
And people call metoneta, but is really called the safuf, not suhuf. Like some people make a mistake. The suhuf is the pages that Adam received, because Adam also received the scripture, and that's called a suhuf. But the actual proper lettering for reading the hieroglyphs, which people call the metoneta, is called the safuf.
So,
Right. Yeah. Omar, go ahead. You got your hand up.
Rahubat, brother Sakim, how are you?
Rahubat, Omar. Anukika was Zamal Wu Antak. I'm fine. And I said, how are you?
I'm doing my best, man. I'm fine as well. I had a question, man. So I know in the Arabic, you have the term alif, then you have the lam and the
Mm-hmm.
meme.
Tua.
It kind of sounds the same with the same like Elohim. It's
Yeah.
like if you was try to transfer it to Arabic, you still use those alphabets. And I was wondering, do they have any relations?
Yeah, exactly.
Elohim and Alif Lam Mim.
Yes, it is because it's the same language. It's just that the
Okay,
different dialects. That's why Arabic and Hebrew are the same language, but just different dialects. This is why if you take any Arabic name, let's say, um, like like Abraham, right? In English, we
okay,
just say Abraham. You go to the Arabic, they will say Ibrahim, right? And you
right,
go to
right,
the
right.
Hebrew, they'll say Abraham. Now you can do the same with Noah, for example. In English, they say Noah. In
Mm-hmm.
and we could even go back even to like Sumeria, like they will say Noah, and then they will say Nuh. You see, and in fact, when you use
Yeah,
like Jesus, right? Though we say Jesus in English, Arabic they're gonna say
they
Isa.
said Isa.
Yeah, and then you
Yeah.
hear Isa and hear Yeshua in Hebrew, the same. You can literally hear it. Michael, they will say
Right.
Michael,
Okay.
and then
All right.
it will be Moses. They will say Moses. We will say in English. They will say Musa in Arabic,
Mm-hmm.
and then they will say Moshe in Hebrew. See, same. You can literally
Okay.
say Moshe, Musa, Moses. It's the same person. Yeshua,
Mm.
Isa, Jesus. Gabriel, they will say Jibril. You see, it's the same. You can
Yeah.
literally hear it. So you're right. It's the same language of two dialects. That's why when in the book of Revelations is talking about, the double-edged sword, right? People
Mm-hmm.
think
Yep.
that they're talking about an actual sword. It said that the being that's going to come to clear up things is going to use a double-edged sword. That's the tongue, meaning your tongue, being able
Mm.
to translate from both those two tongues, Arabic and Hebrew, from one to the next easily and fluently. So the double-edged tongue, we say word or sword. You look at the word sword, you see word,
Mm-hmm.
the S word.
Words. Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
you see words and S word, the sacred words, like if you know how to break them down. So you're correct that both Arabic and Hebrew are the same
Oh,
language but different dialects. So you said
yeah. And yeah. Yes.
AL
Sorry
and
for
you
cutting
hear
you off.
Hebrew. Sorry. AL and then that was the same as an EL. Sorry. Yeah, EL then there's L, then the EL, you add the OH, you get LO. Then you add the IM, which is the Yod and the Mim, you get the Elohim. You go to the Arabic, it'll be AL instead of EL. Then you add the LAH, you get Allah, which is Elo, and then the plural of Elohim becomes Allahumma or Allahat.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
Sorry, you were
Yeah.
going to
Okay.
say.
Yeah, yeah, because I try to have this conversation with, some of my older buddies, and they're deeply into the Quran, and they read it deeply. And I always try to have them explain to me what this Alif Lam Mim means. And they be like, oh, nobody know what it means, and all this and that. And I kind
Oh,
of seen your
did
video
you not
where you
see the
was
video? We did a video on that already.
yeah, I'm coming up to that right now, and I
Okay,
seen
yeah.
your video where you was breaking down the Alpha Bat meme, and I was kind of explaining it to him, and they wasn't trying to hear it,
Yeah.
but I was just trying to get more understanding from their behalf, because I really believe like they really know what it means.
Yeah, they
I
play on
just
the
feel like they don't want
ignorance
to say it.
thinking that we weren't going to study and read and learn the Arabic to know what
Right.
it means. But they try to hide things. Like religious people, that's why what Shem was reading, that part of that called the argument, really made a lot of sense. Like, how do you argue with people who don't know? Because people will say, you say this means this. They will say, no, it doesn't. then you show them, and then instead of accepting that, they will move on to another point and say, well, you know, they just dodge and don't really actually
Yeah.
accept. Yeah. All right.
So in their term, so you would say, it's the same thing. Elohim and Aleph Lam.
Yeah.
It's basically saying the same thing, just from different dialect.
Correct. 100%.
Okay, all right. All right, thank you, brother. That's all I want to know. I appreciate
No
it.
problem. I see
I
you,
appreciate
Jackie.
love it. I appreciate love you.
Jump
Thank
into
you.
Zama. Yeah, because
Yeah.
what they do is you have to say, well, which one is older? And they because like the Quran and the Islam is the youngest.
Right. Yeah.
I just got a message saying Haptu is not going to make class, so it looks like I'm stuck with it. And unfortunately, yeah, I'm not in a place where I can use my camera, so you'll have to just go by my tones. I see Jackie and I see Kobe. Yeah, so what they will do is say, okay, if Arabic is the youngest of only 1400 years ago, then the one previous that came before it, like the Old Testament, is older. So of course
Right.
they would have drafted their word from the Hebrew, which was before. But we then go further and say, all right, what was before Hebrew? And we go to the Sumerian tablets of the Anunnaki and deal with cuneiform. Then we say, okay, where does the cuneiform come from? And we find that it's got its roots is in ancient Egypt and the hieroglyphics and so on. Then we go, okay, what was the spoken language of hieroglyphics and cuneiform? And they don't know. Then we tell them it's Mispatia or Semetic or Nuapic or the different names that, you know, people know of it but didn't know it's the same language. All right. Okay, Jackie, I see you had
Thank you,
your
brother.
first, and then Kobe after. Jackie, you can unmute yourself and ask your question.
Robot.
Rahubat, Jamata.
I would, when you would say that,
Sorry, you're coming
someone,
in a bit low. Do you mind if, or maybe it's me? Let me I can just about hear you. Yeah, go ahead.
when you would say that someone is an extraterrestrial on this earth,
Yeah.
and you might name up the person, I was wondering, would it be that they would be born by their, mother, and they're taken over by an extraterrestrial? What does it really mean?
You know, I think I heard part of what you said. You said, if I can, I'm just trying to turn you up. Did you say when I said people are extraterrestrial, what does it mean? Are they born? If you don't mind, just like
yeah. Are they born
okay. Yeah,
with that extraterrestrial spirit, or are they taking over later on?
right. It can be in many different ways. There are people walking amongst us that are not from here that are extraterrestrial. Like they literally come from different star systems and they're here. And they can shapeshift and they can look just like a human. Then you have us or beings on the planet related to extraterrestrials by way of our DNA. Like, how did we get here? How did we first come here to be? Because they hide the fact of God, they hide it under God or Allah and say Allah or God created everything and everyone until you start to say, well, where is he or how can he create us? And they don't explain it scientifically, but we know that how we come about is through procreation. It's like DNA, and you can go into like the chromosomes and break things down based on their genetic makeup. So we are extraterrestrials because our ancestors seeded this planet, and then we grew out of their DNA that they like seeded this planet with. But you also have panspermia, which is a way that DNA or bacteria and everything come here from outer space or from other planets, and then evolve and grow into, being a being. So it depends on who it is we're talking about, how far back we want to go to see how they evolved or came about. Now, when they try to do this, they start to tell you about, like apes and how man evolved, and the scientists will go to the Big Bang and tell you how, but then that doesn't explain everyone. It's just some people that are tied into those evolutionary stages, and that's why anthropologists and people who actually study these things to say, okay, how did early man come about? Who was first? And they will end up going back to like Africa. And then, like I explained many times, they were saying we're all from one strand of, they just cut you off and say Adam was the first man, and Eve came out of Adam. They had children, and the whole world comes from these two people. But then that's easy when it's just a basic story for people that don't go, how is that possible? Like, things are made from their DNA and their chromosomes and their blood types, and when you go in deep, you start to see that, well, it doesn't make sense, because if we all came from the same place, we would have the same blood types, the same complexions, the same hair texture. But the reality is we don't. It's only certain people came at a point where they were mixed with animals, the Homo canine, the Homo porcine, the Homo simian, and then you go into the DNA and you see who has those traits, who has those, genetic markers. And then you realize not everybody has that. And now they can't really hide it. And they're telling you the truth that, we Africans were first. They used all names in their industry, like in anthropologists will say Homo naledi, Homo habilis, and then they will say Denisovan, Homo florensis, or they will say Cro-Magnon, and then say Neanderthal, and then they will start to go into like they don't go genus Homo, they go homogeneous, but the genus Homo came before the homogeneous all the way to where you're saying Homo sapien. So all these words are used, but if you want to really know and you study and you go, okay, what is a Homo sapien, or like, what does that really mean? Then you go and look at it, and it breaks it down, and it's only talking about a specific period in time, and those beings that were evolving at that time. You see, so when we say extraterrestrial, we're literally saying that no one on the planet DNA or genes come from here. And if you're saying it was God, Allah, or a being that is, in heaven, which is not on the planet, that's an extraterrestrial. Angels are extraterrestrials, but they use these words like angels and God, and in religion, when you didn't really think for yourself, you just accepted what they said to you. It was just a beautiful story that there's a guy in heaven on a throne sitting down. He created everything in 6 days, and then he rested on the seventh day. You got all of these angels around him, but they don't go into the details like, what do the angels look like? Why do they wear clothes? Why do they wear white robes? Because every time they appear, they're telling you they're wearing white robes. Why are they wearing robes? Are they physical or are they spiritual? Because to wear a robe is clothing. Clothing is made from material, from cotton, from, silk, whatever type of material. So who's designing and measuring all the angels and making their clothes? These are the things when in Wu-Sabat, when you start using your mind and your eyes are open, you start to dissect and break things down and ask questions to a level that's not insulting your intelligence, where someone's just telling you like a nursery rhyme and putting, things in nice little boxes. And it just sounds nice. As a child, you're just like in awe. You're looking up to your mom and dad reading your stories like, oh, that's beautiful. And you put them to bed. That's a fairy tale. It's like, it sounds nice, but when you go into the detail, as an adult, you start to ask questions. How does Father Christmas actually come down the chimney? And how is he going to come down the chimney when we don't have a chimney and we live in a flat, in a high-story building, in what they call a project or something? It's like, or is that just designed for rich people who have big houses with big chimneys that it doesn't even make sense? Why isn't it like, by the time he comes, isn't it dirty up there? Is there no smoke? It's all like little, and then he leaves presents, and he can go to every person, every child in the world, flying in a reindeer, flying in some cart with reindeers. It's just a fairy tale, you see, and it's the same way they beguile people with the stories of the Bible, telling you about a snake that can talk, and you're like, what type of snake is this? What species of snake is it? because there are no snakes ever recorded in the history of the world that can talk. So what happened to this snake? Where did they have offspring? Where's the rest of his family? Snakes don't eat dust because it tells you, oh, go on your belly and you'll crawl for the rest of your life eating dust. So these are the types of things where I'm saying these are extraterrestrial beings who created us in their image and in their likeness. And then from us, other beings were grafted and hybrids, and then other beings from different star systems came here as well and took that what was already evolving, added their DNA to produce all types of different creatures. And we have a scroll called Freaks and the Perfect Creature or something like that, that shows you when these extraterrestrials were just coming here and like creating all types of beings. Why in the Bible you'll see that you got beings with 6 toes, you got unicorns, you got beings with all types of deformities, hairy, you know, like Enkidu in the Sumerian doctrine, or the you know, what we call the enumeration, you know, the Gilgamesh. Like Gilgamesh is a person, and you see his best friend was Enkidu in the Sumerian doctrine, and he was covered in hair. And then you look at people on the planet today that have hair all over their body. You can go to like places like India and so on and look, or just Google it. It's called hirsutism. You know, like that's because of the DNA from these shaggy beings that come from Sirius, the ones people look at and say Bigfoot. And these beings have mixed in. Then you got different types of extraterrestrials that have mixed in. And when you watch that alien video we did, a lot of them were living inside the inner earth, you know, Shambhala. And they all have different species. Look, some live in the deep seas and they've been there for millions of years. Some entries to the Shambhala are blocked and the government stopped people from going there because the truth is out. And, you know, now they will stop you from going to certain locations, Antarctica and certain places where they've been here living for millions of years. Now, some of them make agreements with governments and, you know, to coexist and not because they don't want to take over. They just want to live their life and get on with it. And then there are others that definitely want to like wipe humans out and take over and have the planet for themselves. So it's a complex thing in terms of the different species of extraterrestrial. Now, the last point, there are people in the world that are famous, that, like I said, people like Elvis Presley, people like, you know, these magicians like Chris Angel. There was a time the master just reeled off so many people. Like they're either like real extraterrestrials just walking amongst us, look like us. Val Thor. You look at Val Thor. Maybe let me share some of this stuff because I think when people see
Like,
sorry, go ahead.
yeah, like you name out these individuals that are extraterrestrial. I mean, in their situation, you know, they are born by a mother
Yeah, like
on this earth, and then are they taken over by this extraterrestrial or?
yeah, there are situations where an extraterrestrial has a child with a human mother, and then these children, they're very smart. Like for example, people like Nikola Tesla, and there are many people on the planet that have done great things. Sorry, let me just trying to share my screen. Yeah, so it depends on who we're talking about, what situation, and the circumstances around that. So if you like, if we were talking about someone in particular, like some of the people in power, like the presidents and stuff like that, they have a bloodline and they try to maintain that bloodline because they want to keep the power and the control and everything amongst their bloodline. So I don't know if you can see my screen. I've just shared my screen. I'm gonna just
Was Obama, President Obama, was he part of that bloodline?
he's part of the bloodline in the sense of the children on the planet, if you look at their blood types, they're mainly Rh negative blood types. That's an extraterrestrial blood type. So because of his mother, remember that he's half he's half Caucasian, and his father was from Kenya, right? So the Caucasian part of it, you can actually, let me show you, can just Google these things. Like a lot of what we talk about, let me see, presidents. Let me can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm just gonna be sharing and things I'm talking about. If you search things like bloodline, US presidential bloodline, you will see images and things where they literally show you, there you go, look at that, there's Obama right there, as you say. But I mean, you would have to do your own research to show you how they are all related by bloodline. I mean, here's another one. There's people that have done like diagrams, as you can see here, like connecting them all together and how they're related. And it's by no coincidence. You see? So you can just, here's a one that's got a bit more detail. Some of these, obviously, they're not, let me see if I can go into it. Some of them, look, how US presidents are related. And you look at, I don't know how big this can get, but you may have to. Yeah, there you go, look. You can literally look at them. There you go, there's Obama right there. Can you see it?
Yes.
See, look, it shows you his bloodline and how they're related. You see, look, from here, goes up here, to there, goes down there, all the way to him. So, you know, these are things that are out there. It's not just something that we are coming up with or making up. Again, let me show you. If you Google Val Thor, and a lot of this stuff was written when it was classified, or they would say classified information, because there were classified things like MJ12, which is the Majestic 12. You know, there were many secrets that at the time most people weren't familiar with, but as time's gone on, information, you know, freedom of information and all these types of things came out. Look, this guy, this is who we're calling Val Thor. Just again, do some research on Val Thor when he came, and you know who he came with and visiting the White House. You look at him and you look at people like I said, Elvis Presley and so on. There are many people that are extraterrestrials. Even what's his name? That famous rock guitarist, the black guy,
Jimi Hendrix.
Yeah, thank you, Zamal. Yeah, so you know these are things that if you read The Man from Planet Risk, again, there's another thing. There's cloning, where people are cloning, you know, some of these beings, why they look the same or look alike. And The Man from Planet Risk book was showing us this in the 90s and showing you who's a, you know, who's a clone, who is related. Marilyn Monroe. These are all beings that were not from here. Why, you know, there's a lot of mystery shrouded around them, etc. But I hope that's answered your question. If not, let me know and we can elaborate, because I know Kobe's been waiting for a while. Jackie,
Okay.
does that answer your question?
Yes, that helps a lot. Thank you.
All right. Kobe.
Yes. Okay. So this breakdown was great, by the way. Thank you. So,
No problem.
I guess what we've been talking about Semitic languages, and we've been mentioning the word Kemetic. This could be a broad question, but I just want to understand more how we went from Kemetic to Semitic.
Yeah, because what they try to do, as usual, is supplant. And when I say they, I'm talking about like, you know, sometimes because of social media and the platforms, we have to be mindful of words we use, right? But the Jebusites, they supplanted themselves by using words like Jews instead of Judah, because when you look at the tribes, right? Okay, if you know your history in terms of your religious history, just follow the story for a minute, the Adam and Eve story, and then you get to a point where there's this character called Noah, and they say to you the whole story about Noah is that the planet was wiped out. Everybody got killed and drowned, and only those people that went into the boat with Noah survived after that. That's what they would like you to believe or think. So then life started again, as they say, from Noah and his family coming out of the ark and then having children. This is where you get the Japheth, Ham, and what is it, Esau, right? So
Shem's a mother.
Shem, thank you. Yeah. So Shem is where the word Chem comes from. And they say Semetic, when they say Semetic, right? Usia Kobina, if you're ready, if you want to teach, I don't mind handing over to you at some point because I wasn't supposed to be teaching today, but
yeah, I know.
If you want to, fine.
I guess I can. No. I know you got things to do. I can jump in.
Okay, let me just land with this, and then when you're ready, I'll hand over. Yes, so Shem is where they get the word Semitic from, instead of Shemetic. And then they try to say the languages that come out of that they're called Semitic languages. But we know that is Shem or Shemetic, and Shem ties into, as we were saying, Chem or Kemet. So when you go to Kemet, because the stories are stolen from Kemet, the biblical stories and the religious books are stolen or grafted or plagiarized from Egypt. And that's why Egypt is in the story, because if they didn't have no ties to Egypt, it wouldn't be authentic. They wouldn't be able to prove anything that they're saying in their books. But by tying it into Kemet, or we say Ham, Chemet, because the word Chem or Ham means black, you see? And so as I was saying, the supplanting is by changing things to change the narrative. And when you're saying Semitic languages, now they're taking you, as you say, to what they call the Hebrew, which is spoken by Jews, apparently. But the Jews that you're calling Jews today are not Jews in the sense of tying into the tribe of Judah. These are Khazars, or what you call Sephardim and Ashkenazim, which ties into like the Russians and like going all the way back to the Phoenicians and these Europeans or Adamites, you see. So the whole gameplay is to switch everything over so that the technology comes in and you're made to feel like you don't know the scriptures, but then what you're following is they actually follow something called the Talmud, not the actual word for word Hebrew or Hebraic teachings. Because when you go into and start breaking the words down like we were doing earlier on, you start to see the game. Just like the Muslims, instead of following the words of the Quran, they now follow a hadith. And the hadiths are tales of men. The Talmud is a completely different thing that ties into the Kabbalah, that has people doing things that it's not true and accurate by way of the scriptures. So when a master teacher, Parnabab Yunun, came on the scene, he was like, okay, you ain't playing that game on me, because he's actually a linguist and he studied all the languages and he was able to go word for word, translating and showing you the truth to the point where they got exposed as the fakers. And he's got a video on YouTube called Fake Sunni Muslims, because what happened is you have what they call Orthodox, right? You hear the Orthodox Jews, the Orthodox Sunni Muslims. When they change it to what they're calling Orthodox, what they're saying is, this is what we accept as the norm, but it's orthodox. But it's like, if we don't accept what you're saying is orthodox, then you're not considered to be true. So they'll call you a Gentile, they'll call you a, all kinds of names and say they're the chosen people, blah, 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 until you start to expose like the real DNA. Like, who are you? Where are you from? How does your bloodline tie in to the original or to the source? You see, so that's where the games are being played. So yeah, Semetic is to take you away from Shem all the way back to, you tie it back to the Egyptian Kemet, which means black. And then you start to look at all the words like Ethiopia means black, Push means black. Everything ties into these black Egyptians or the black Cameroonians or what we're dealing with, which is our ancestors, tying us back to Ptah, and then all the way to the stars, as we say, Saba or Sabah, Sabians, yeah, which is dealing with the gates to Orion, or we had Sabatat and Sa'at, Orion and Sirius constellations, where the true gods, or what people are calling gods, are, but they're actually our ancestors that seeded this planet, come from. And they don't want you to know that truth and tie it back all the way to you being the golden children or the children of Panatharu. But this is the day and time in terms of the sun cycle coming in, and one that's been sent to basically clear up everything, reform everything, and tell you the truth on everything and anything you need to know so you can find your way home. And with that, I'm going to pass the class over to my good brother, Lucia Kobina Kare. And Takas, therefore.
Rahuban. Also, I just say thank Tautak Second Sakamraye for holding down the fort. I'm gonna jump in also to assist. Ray, I hope you're well. Obviously you couldn't make it today, this evening, but I will be taking over. My name is Usia Karaye, student teacher of the master teacher, Dr. Malachi Kobinazedjo Okran. Yeah, we're gonna go straight into it. Unfortunately, I'm running it off my phone until I connect up my laptop. So I apologize for the impromptu presentation. So if anyone has any questions, please ask away, and I'll see if I can log on to my laptop and present a little bit better. Tawatak, Tawakum, Wisar, for being patient. Any questions so far?
I'm just looking at the chat, and I will assist with the chat. Somebody just wants like links for the Telegram group, etc. But there are a couple of questions in the chat.
Huawei, let's have a look at the chat. Sorry.
Only two at the moment. I'll read it out for you. Which groups were fighting in modern Palestine before 1947? And then, was cuneiform before the Egyptian script, or the other way around?
So the first question was, who was fighting before 1947 in Palestine?
Tua, which groups were fighting in modern Palestine before 1947?
Oh gosh. I mean, it depends how far we're going back here, but essentially Palestine was occupied by the original people. They were the Philistines. That's where you get the word Palestine from. It's actually from the Philistines who were occupying in that region, and also other so-called tribes, of Israel, Edomites, etc. So it really depends on what time cycle we're talking. Circa 2000 AD or AD or BC. You have to be a bit more specific. But if you're asking about regarding the biblical occupation of that land, there were many different tribes that occupied that land. But the main one, Palestine, is where you're getting or should I say, Palestine is derived from the word Philistines. So the Philistines were the ones that were occupying in that place. And as Sakin was explaining, These were the same descendants of the shaggy beings from the Sirius star constellation who were made. So these were like the Enkiduites, and also who's the other one that was mentioned, second mentioned, Gilgamesh. Yeah, so these Enkiduites were actually grafted extraterrestrials, beings or animals or humanoids that were roaming or living in that region, and some of them escaped and lived in remote areas, etc., like the mountainous regions. Hence, you get the word Mount Seir, where I think if it was correct, Moses received his tablets. The word there, when you're looking at the word Seir, you're looking at the word Shair or hairy, and this is tied in with the beings who were descendants of the Shaggies who resided in that mountainous region. And from that came your Philistines, who were also very warlike, etc. So yeah, so if that's the answer you're looking for in respects to that, prior to 1947, yes, that's the answer. And over since that generation, as the Israelites were promised the so-called milk and honey, they occupied certain lands of the Philistines and resided there. And it's been an ongoing, let's just say, battle between the Philistines and the children of Israel until they were taken over. As again, Sakin was explaining, they took over as the children of Canaan, who were the ones that then took over that position, claiming to be the children of Israel. And that's where your Jebusites and the children of Canaan came from. That one of the tribes was the Amorites, the Jebusites, the Hittites, etc., etc. And these were these 11 tribes of Canaan who then migrated into that region, especially the Jebusites, who from them claiming to be the descendants of Abraham, etc. And then, as you know, after 1947, they were given a homeland, which became Palestine. So I hope that answers your question on in respect to that. If there's any more clarity, please probe away. And the second question, because what it is, I logged on and I can't see any of the questions, the chats prior to that. So
Okay,
what was the second question?
This was cuneiform before Egyptian script or the other way around?
Okay, right. So again, pretty much Brother Saken's answered that. It was the Egyptian hieroglyphs was before. The word you have to realize is a Latin word, cuneus. So the word cuneiform is actually, like I said, a form of script, which is wedge shaped. So you can find many different scripts around the world, archaeological findings that have the wedge shaped inscriptions. And that's what is a Latin word, which means wedged. So cuneiform. And then obviously cuneiform is what they give to most of the area known as Mesopotamia, where they find a lot of the archaeological findings of these Anunnaki and the Sumerians and the Akkadians and who else was there in that area? Yeah, I think that was the Akkadians, etc., and the Babylonians. Yeah, so those were their wedged script. But as was being explained earlier, the language that was being spoken at that time was Sabaic or Misbatia. And Misbatia is the language that was brought from the heavens. When you go into Genesis, talks about the host. And that host, you find the word there is Saba, which again explain is the stargate. That stargate of beings that came from the Orion and Sirius star constellation to this planet to populate this planet and give a language and a culture, which and that language was Misbatia. And then obviously it derived where the people in Sumeria, Akkadian, Babylonian, and all these different tribes and cultures that sprung up in that area, they were using that script. And then as time went on, the 46 dynasties, which you hear about in ancient Egypt, talking about the first dynasty was a person called Menes or Namir, where you get the word Mitzrayim from. And Mitzrayim, as you can find it in the biblical context where they talk about one of the sons of Cush, I believe. Okay, and that's where you're getting again the language or the dialect coming from that tribe or that family that migrated back into ancient Tamaray. The original people that were in Tamaray or ancient Egypt were the Nubans or the Pataites. They were originally living in ancient Neolithic Valley, okay, from Zambia, going all the way up, the Nile River, up to Sudan, etc. These were the people that were there who were 4'5" and 5'4", that were living as the original pygmies before this invasion or the migration of their relatives, as it were, who had left that area and were living in Sumeria and mixed in with some of the Anunnaki and brought that culture of the Anunnaki back into Egypt and set up the first dynasty, which was known as the 46 dynasties, which ties into the 46 chromosomes of the mixture of the two, the African pygmies and the Babylonian or Sumerian culture. So you had certain depictions of headdresses and other regalia that didn't come from ancient Egypt originally. It was brought in by the children or ancestors that were kind of like, I gotta say, migrating back home. Do you know what I mean? Some of them remembered their homeland and their origin and migrated back into Africa. And this is the stories that you're hearing. So when you hear about Misraim, etc., and all these biblical characters, they were coming from the ancient lands of Shinar or Sumeria. Okay, Shinar is another name for Sumeria, which means land or land of plains. Not plain as in flying, but plain as in the territory, the terra firma, the terrain. Okay, so that's essentially what it is. But the language itself that was spoken at that time was Sabaic or Misbatia, which we are now currently been reintroduced back into the original language that we spoke. Because that language deals with a lot of tones, frequency, and vibration, which helps in reconfiguring our mental state, our physical state, etc., back into the true deities that we are. So I hope that answers your question. Just trying to still fiddle with this thing to log into my laptop. So I hope that answered that question. Please ask away again if there's anything you're not sure of or want me to clarify. Rahubat, anyone there? Yeah, go ahead. I can just about hear something. Someone's trying to say something.
It was a text question, so I don't know if they can speak or not. But Henrique,
okay.
He's got his hand up. So go ahead, Henrique. Ask your question.
Oh yeah. Well, wait. Mm-hmm.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you, Henrique.
Oh, lovely. Rahubat.
Yeah, go ahead with your question. Henrique, I've lost you. So are you there?
Yeah, I think he might be having some communication.
Some connection issues. Okay.
But
well, wait.
Yes. And now, can you hear me?
Yes, you can be heard.
Oh, okay. Thank you. I have the patriarch of the 30 spirits with me, and I just there is from the first page, from verse 6, it says, "You must remember what and who you are to all others, and you must bind the 30 spirits that seeks to control you."
Mm-hmm.
the very voices of your own Salafu ancestors who lived in the image of the beast and
Mm-hmm.
at that have been trapped in his hell. You must bind them and free them from the realm of hell, that you will be free of their whispers into your heart and your mind, which affects your very actions each day of your life. Is how can I and I just I I try to I have been going through it and I just trying to know that how to remember myself is that through reading and keep on reading, like the brother Sakem said, you need to have virtue, because everything will not come just overnight,
Mm-hmm.
and there's another. Sorry, I'm jumping around. There's
Yeah,
another
yeah. Try and
actual
pose your
fact.
question. You're trying to formulate your question. I get it. Yeah.
Yes. With feeding the forces, there's a diagram on page 13. The effects of caffeine. Would caffeine, just, there's so many things I want to ask, but would that be, if I drink, sometimes I drink coffee at work, would that affect me as well? Would that lower my vibration? Because I felt that, finding them and knowing yourself and knowing myself,
Sorry,
but
just
I would just stick to, I just stick to how would I remember myself, who I am to all others, and to bind the 30 spirits, which is, if I take subtract myself from that, there will be 29, and who else is alive? I need to subtract them.
Yeah, of course, yeah. So
Thank you.
so what's your question is like what you partake
Yeah,
in?
yes, what can I do?
Oh, okay.
That, yes, the importance of you must. I know it sounds so, when I read it, I just reading it, and it sort of, I think there is something that I must, and I just trying to understand, how to know myself and to bind those spirits, my salafu that was kept in, that lived
Yeah,
before me, that's kept in the
right.
beast form, and to overcome them through the whispers and my desires. Because sometimes my
Okay,
desires can be,
right. Let me just hold on a second. Let me just find something. But yeah, essentially, when you're dealing with your ancestors, you've been, having them in your bloodline. Know that
yes,
there's two forces at play. Actually there's three forces at play. You got your positive ancestors, the ones that work with you, and then you also
yes,
have disagreeable ancestors or negative ancestors that want to keep your body in a particular state so that they can indulge and, live off and enjoy the delicacies that they were partaking in when they were alive. Okay, does that make
yes,
sense? Yeah.
yes,
So,
yes.
so what the masters explained in 30 Spirits and also in a book called Concentration, if I can bring that up, just to
Okay,
see if I think it's in Concentration. Let me just bear with me. Sorry, my feet. Still trying to get this thing to operate properly. Right. So this is from page. This is from page 1 of Concentration, Patarak, and it says, by mastering Tashad concentration, actually, let's step back a bit. Let's read from verse 1. Panabayanun explains it like this. Lekum aye munbatu shalil pareye. For you, my children, golden children of the sun, you have the Saham power to control your inner and outer Mukwan being by way of Tashad concentration. So the question you're asking is how? Well, one of the ways is concentration. Okay.
okay,
Number 2, Tashad concentration, my Kharadu children, is to focus, bring or direct one's Akal mind toward a common center, Tatmal, meditation. So to bring your mind to a common center, that will lead on to meditation. So first focusing and concentration will lead to meditation. Okay?
Okay.
And it says, and in this case, it's you, the single you. So you have to literally bring that, you have to now learn to focus that inner being, that you, that real you, let that start to operate in you. Okay? So
Yes.
you may get thoughts like this as an example. Yeah, it's not may not be applied to everyone, but things they creep in. So for instance, it's 9 o'clock and it's time to chant. Yeah. And then
Yes.
the beings may say, in fact, it's time to chant. And one of the rituals of chanting is maybe have a bath, you see what I'm saying, get changed,
Yes.
light your candles, etc. And you may get a thought like, oh, too tired. Do you know what I mean? I don't really feel like chanting right now. Oh, I've got to have a bath. So these are the complaints of the mind. You know what you're supposed to do. That's the inner voice. The inner voice knows your ritual that you're supposed to put into place. Do you see what I'm saying? It may not,
Yes.
like I said, it may not apply to anybody that ritual, but let's work with this as an example. Then, as it gets to the point of we're about 9 o'clock, there's two things that will happen. You either let that inner dwelling spirit take control. That's the inner voice. That's the real you take control to have the bath, light the candles, and do the ritual and do the chant, which most of the times, 9 to 10 times out of the time, you feel better after doing it. But let's just go with the fact that it was a disagreeable ancestor who then influence you to not do that ritual, to not go and chant. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yes.
Now is a spirit that you've allowed to take over because it
Okay.
appealed to your laziness.
Yes.
Do you understand? Yeah.
Okay.
And
Yes.
that is the portion of us that we must learn to control because those inner spirits, whether it's agreeable or disagreeable, like I said, the agreeable ones or positive ones will influence you to do positive things. Do you know what I mean? And you can work out
Yes.
what's negative or positive just by you discerning what's going to happen, what's the result. Okay, so let me just continue reading.
Okay.
So it says here, by mastering Tashat concentration, those beings, the 29 or more spirit beings, both agreeable and disagreeable, Ka'a'u spirits, or Mushta'u specters. Now, this is another aspect to why most of us tend to argue, don't want to do what we want to do, argue between relations and relatives, etc., is because you also have specters. These are disembodied extraterrestrials or elemental beings that exist in our environment or vibrate on a different dimension, okay, or density level. And what they can also do is based on your bodily frequency or mental processing, they can also influence the way you feel about yourself or how you feel of what to do in that particular moment. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yes.
Yeah, so these
Yes.
specters, spooks, who appear from the lower realms or abodes cannot break into your fakara thoughts. You understand? Yeah?
Okay.
And
Yes.
control,
Okay.
and control, let's finish, control your nafas, self. So these beings can break into your thoughts and control your nafas, self, linked
Mm-hmm.
linked to your Ka'a spirit, then to your Nasham breath, also linked to your Ka'a spirit and your Nasham breath, also linked to your Ba'a soul, linked to your Achach ether. Do you understand?
Wow.
So in fact, concentration is a very important principle in Wu Nuwapu. It is for Nuwapu.
Hello?
We've lost you, Usia. Your sound.
Yes. I thought it was my mic.
No, he's he may be having some connection problem.
Okay.
Okay, I will.
Okay.
Today is a very different type of class. We're having kind of technical problems, but did that answer your
Yes.
question, Henrique?
Yes, yes, yes. Yes, the concentration, it makes sense to me now, and like
Mm.
how he said as well with the inner voices, where it becomes to your laziness, which sometimes you had a hard day of working, and you set aside, say, okay, let me just have a rest, and because I had a hard day's work, and then you tend to say, for example, as he was mentioning um with the chanting as well, because sometimes I will go and I will look after my little boy. So during the week, I'll go and look after my little boy. And then I have his mom come at 7 o'clock. So I have to travel from Brighton to Lewis.
Yeah.
And on that journey, it will be, I'll be coming home, and then I come home, and then I have to cook for myself.
Mm.
And say by the time I look at the time, and it's like, oh, it's quarter to 9. And
Mm.
like, oh man, I'm hungry. I wanna eat. And
Yeah.
then something tells me, let the cook, just let it cool down, and then let it cook, and then once it's finished cook, I mean, let it cook. It will finish, and
Mm.
then eat after your chanting. But
Mhm.
then something would just tell me, no, man, and then my stomach would be like, oh no, no, I'm hungry, because because
The complaints of the
because
mind. Yeah.
the
So
complaints of the mind, because
exactly. Yeah.
because
We've actually published a new we've just printed we're publishing that book called The Mind, which is now currently out. I would
okay,
urge everyone to try and get hold of that book, The Mind Scroll, because
okay,
the Mind Scroll shows you the different levels of and the nature of the mind and how you're able to corral it, which means you're able to bring it in so that the mind can be your assistant as opposed to be your hindrance. Do you see what I'm saying?
yes,
Yeah,
yes,
because
yes,
your mind is linked to the mental reservoir, and within that mind, it's not just your own. Your mind is sometimes also influenced by your emotions, where it triggers your ancestors in that realm. Do you see what I'm saying? To then
okay,
come alive. So it's about the control of your emotions and also the control of your physical urges,
yes,
etc. And my brother, I'm not gonna even stand here and say to you, I've got it, I'm 100%. Do you get what I'm saying? What we are student teachers all working on ourselves. You understand? All of us are working on
yes,
ourselves to some level or degree. But what we say is
yes,
that try and make it as consistent as possible.
consistent,
Exactly. And in that
yes,
consistency, the real manifestation of your true self, your etheric being, will come forth. Just what I'm saying, you know?
I understand,
Yeah.
yes, yes,
And to add to that coffee part, we're talking about certain beverages or foods that you should eat. Know that the coffee is a hindrance to
yeah,
your melanin, and
oh,
yeah, it blocks your melatonin from being secreted. Also,
ah, man,
also,
okay,
extraterrestrials also like certain products that coffee gives off, as in the put it, certain extraterrestrials live off certain foods or certain what's the word? Excrements. That's the word I'm looking for. Yeah, it may sound
okay,
disgusting, but to some extraterrestrials, excrements from coffee and things like that is something, it's like a drug to them.
okay,
Okay, so
okay,
it's about weaning yourself off, disciplining yourself, finding an alternative. I mean, an alternative that you can have if you've never heard of it before, to replace coffee is barley. Barley is an alternative to
Bali,
coffee. Yeah, barley. So you can get
okay,
like grounded barley, and you can actually have that as an alternative if you're really
so
still craving the the coffee
the
smell and
flavor.
things like that. Yeah, exactly.
Yes,
Mhm.
yes, yes,
All right.
yes. No,
So I
thank you
hope
so much. Yes, I'm
fantastic.
listening.
No, 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 it's all right. I was just saying, does that answer your question? Does that?
Yes. It makes a lot of sense because
Mm.
I at one moment I was, meditating by meaning from the OSMV, the Om, and then you have the other one that the master teacher is doing as well, the journey
Hmm.
to go deeper, the visualization
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
meditation. So I get that on, I, and I was into it. I cut everything off, and I felt so good, and I felt
Mm.
so positive, and
Mm.
my mind was, and I just started to think deeper, and then someday I just started to drink, like the coffee because I haven't drank the coffee, tea, and I started to have a bit of biscuits. They was giving biscuits, so with the coffee at work and some ice cream. It was hot, and then I just sort of, and after that, I felt really. I didn't felt so much powerful. I don't know how to use the right word, but
Mm.
that energy that I was striving on and what I've planned for myself, during I didn't, and that's why I was just always
Yeah,
yes. Then it makes sense where
yeah.
you
Heinrich, sorry to
remaining.
cut you. I've got
Okay,
other people who want to
okay,
ask
okay. Thank you,
questions. And
brother.
I'm
That
mindful of the
yes.
time.
Thank you so
So
much.
no,
Thank you, brother.
anytime. Well, that's what we're here for, but just we're trying to give
Thank you.
people
See you tomorrow.
tour. Yeah. All
Tour.
right then. All right. Well, good. Speak. Yeah. Kobe, you have a question?
Yeah, sorry about that. I think I just got logged out and I logged back in and put my hand back up. So I wasn't trying to
Oh, you didn't have
rush.
a question. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I wasn't trying to rush someone along. But no, I still got my question now. So I've just been going back to the scrolls and I'm
Hmm.
reading actual fact 30 is Egyptian ontology or mythology.
Okay.
Um, and there's a bit that I've been sort of like reading over and over again.
Hmm.
So it's uh am I saying this right to say verse 56?
Tour.
Yeah. Okay, so verse 56. So it's recorded that Tum
So what
took
page is that? Verse 56?
page 29.
29. Well, wait.
Okay, so it says 56. So it's recorded that Tum took form as Atum out of the primeval deep of Nunet Nun and became Yanun.
Hmm.
I just wanted to understand a little bit more about Nunet Un, Nunet Nun, the deep
Okay.
of Nunet Nun.
So Tum took form as Atum out of the primeval deep on Nuntat or Nunet Nun. So these are principles, okay, male and female principles. Okay, so Nuntat and Nun are basically, if you look at Nun, the et, as in the way they pronounce it, is really Nuntat. Yeah, in the
Okay.
correct tone. Okay.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
Nuntat and Nun, these are female and male principles of etheric energy. You understand? Because the
Hmm.
actual what permeates this reality is Pa'ut. So Pa'ut, within Pa'ut, these principles of feminine and masculine energies exist. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So out of the three levels or what is known as triple darkness, okay,
Hmm.
things manifest into what they to become. And as an etheric being, the vibration and tone and sound and frequency, that tone became Ya Nun. That is what manifests as the green emerald light, which would be Pa Nabab Ya Nun. Does that
Hmm.
make sense? Yeah. So that etheric embodiment came from the Nun and Nuntet, the primeval darkness or energy, etheric energy. And another way, or pata tum, re tum. So these
Yeah.
were different aspects of this being as they manifested into this realm. Does that make sense? So as the masters explain, you have on the one side of energy, you have ether,
Hmm.
and then or quantum, and on the other side of energy, you have what is known as the physical realm. Does
Yes.
that make sense? And on the one side, you have E1, which correlates with H1
H1.
hydrogen,
Hmm.
and they're linked, intermittently linked with each other. Likewise, all the way down to oxygen, etc., etc. So these 99 elements on the physical chart of the elemental table are linked in with the 99 etheric elements.
Okay.
Follow.
Is there a breakdown of the 99 etheric elements? Is the
That's the chant. That's the chant. Those are the chants.
Oh, okay, 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 okay,
Yeah.
okay.
So when you're
Wow.
doing your chant, you're actually invoking these etheric
Yes.
elements, these elemental beings to come through you and work through you. You understand? So Nun would have been that 19th elder who sits on the 24th seat as the 24th elder who oversees this 24,000 year cycle. You with me? And he comes in various aspects. So Tahuti, Patatum, Atum Re, etc., etc. These were the different manifestations of this being in the different cycles.
Okay.
Does that make
So
sense? Yeah, go ahead.
it does make sense. So we're now going into this. So this is when you say this cycle, this is the new cycle we
That's the
start.
new cycle, the
This
new
so this is the
24,000 year
first,
cycle.
yeah,
Exactly.
and this is the first 6,000 that we're into now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly.
Okay. All right. I just want to read a little bit further. Yeah.
Yeah, Tua.
Okay. So and became Yanun or Patatum Retum Atumre as a snake or holding his snake.
Mm-hmm.
He being the frog as a male,
Mm-hmm.
Nyao Kuk Hu Nun.
So here again, these are
Yeah.
like different tones, but now you know as um um these are basically these are tones. So you have kek, kak, tat, ha, hatat, nun, nun, tat. You see what I'm
Yes.
saying? Yeah.
Yes.
So it's
Yes.
amun, amun, tat. So that's basically these are the Ogduads.
Yes.
You
Which is
understand?
explained in the, I think it's in that a few previous pages.
Yeah,
It gives the
exactly.
breakdown of the star and it. Yeah.
Yeah. Hmm.
Okay. Um. Okay. Okay. That's a whole nother thing. But let me just get to where I want to get to now, and then
Okay.
I'll bring up another time. Um. All right. He became a symbol of an ill or a form of both, which electric charges.
Hmm.
His Khazab penis rod with the light of life.
Hmm.
Again, yeah, even now as I'm reading it, there's things coming into my mind, but I just want to go to what I was here for originally.
Okay.
Okay, so 57. So it was Atum
Hmm.
and Apophis, the serpent, as the laws of positive and negative forces or changes to
Hmm.
clash and form chaos on Patanun,
Hmm.
planet Earth, their Bible and Quranic good and evil story.
Hmm.
So this in the previous verse, obviously it broke down um how Atum came to form and progressed on to Yanun,
Hmm.
Patatum, and these things. So where did Apap come from? Like where's it where does that
Oh,
is was
Apophis.
it yes.
Hmm.
Was
Well,
it an etheric thing or is it something completely different?
that's right. These are forces. So these forces, as it says, the serpent as the laws of positive and negative forces. So they oppose each other. You see what I'm saying?
Mm,
The opposing forces is what causes the conflict. But then what
okay.
happens is that duality, positive and negative, has to have or transfers into a triad, which is coming from that person, that being. So let's just say an example. You have the positive and negative, or your good and bad intentions. You see what I'm
Mm,
saying? But there's always an end result. You with me?
yeah.
There's a
Yeah, yeah,
third
yeah,
aspect of that, no
yeah.
matter what it is. So that is what is taking place. So these forces, when they manifest in this realm, become your apophis and atum, or ray and apophis, having that duality or that battle, which, you know, the Europeans or Greeks misinterpreted as being them literally fighting. It's talking about the inner being, the inner aspects of you, your conflicts that have rises within you to do agreeable or disagreeable. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, all right, this might sound a bit abrupt, but is that to say that everyone has a choice? Like
Mm-hmm.
you can, yeah, is it fair to say, especially when you look at people who are in unfortunate situations,
Mm-hmm.
especially where they may have gone through traumatic experiences, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
So is it still right to say that everybody has a choice? Like the choice is always there.
That's
It's
right.
really up to you and
Yeah,
what you do, and then that will just show who you are.
that's right. Exactly. This down there'll be the if we let's we're going, because we're now students of teachers of Wu-Sabat, and we're learning within this forum as students and teachers of Wu-Sabat. Okay, we're all growing in degrees and etc. And you're gonna come to a point where you're gonna make a choice whether to say, nah, this ain't for me. You get
Yeah.
what I'm saying? I'm gonna go on my journey, go back to the way I live my life. Or yes, this is for me. I'm gonna practice and live Wu Sabat to the best of my ability because it resonates with me, because I know that what my ancestors are being through, I want to correct that. Just what I'm saying. I want to make all the within this time frame that I'm in now, in my zero time reference, you are responsible for your ancestors, just what I'm saying, in this cycle, because now you have been woken up to Wu Sabat.
Mm,
Do you understand? And it's important for you now to impart on others so they can also have the opportunity to wake up. So those are the two decisions you're gonna make, and that's the battle. You see what I'm saying? That Horus, and you have the Horus example and the Satak example where there's a battle. You see what I'm saying,
mm,
between two opposing forces. But what's the end result? What's the result? What's the outcome? Are you a being that's gonna grow? You see what I'm saying? And
mm,
um take control, wear the mask of God, or are you gonna be a person that wants to be ruled by others?
mhm.
You understand? So yes, it is a conscious decision that you make to embrace your ancestors and to right the wrongs that has happened to our ancestors and us, ultimately as us as a race.
Yeah,
You with me?
yeah, yeah, definitely.
No. But
Okay,
yeah.
Tal Tatsuma. I'll take that in, and
Mhm.
I'll just sit quietly now because
No,
I've
no,
got
no, no.
quite
Feel free. I
quite a
mean,
few things.
no, we haven't got long. So if any other questions from anybody else, feel
Yeah.
free to ask. Um, so you're listening to question and answer class on Wu Sabat. Okay, myself was Kar Raye and second Sakam Raye, who was doing the first part. Please ask your questions. No questions too big or too small. Think about the question you're gonna ask, and please ask away because we're here to raise souls.
Rahubat, so if I may just interject and add a little bit to the build you guys are
Sure. Go ahead.
before I do that, I've actually posted the link to the Mind Scroll in the chat for those who would like to get a copy. Yeah, I just wanted to, as you were breaking down the cycle from Nun, I wanted to just touch on what I was visualizing, which is when people think about life, they have to remember that it's a cycle, or we say circle of existence of chain reaction. So, when you look at, for example, the motion of the sun, we say coming out of that nun or that darkness, we get to that position of atom, which people will say the sun rising. And then the sun will go through the motion to where it's at the middle point where people will say it's at the zenith, or the kind of like that the mid afternoon where it's the hottest, or the the kind of that point, and then it will then go down where people say going into the evening or to the shadow hours, and then it will then do that again when it goes through back and then rises again. So we have these positions in ancient times where they were describing it as Atum, Atun, and Amun, and then going through that darkness, you get the Anun. And when you look at life in general, it's a cycle. And that on a bigger scale, instead of looking at it on a 24 hours in terms of the sun supposedly rising and then setting and doing that motion daily, when you do this over 24,000 years, or when you look at it from the galactical bodies, this is what's also happening in the cycles where you're saying 24,000 years, it's a new cycle. Instead of looking at the cycle as a daily cycle of every day you wake up, you go to sleep, and it's that cycle, you're looking at it from when you've done 24,000 years, it's like a new cycle that's coming out of what we call the black sun or the supreme darkness, and coming back out where a new cycle begins of the new 24,000 sun cycle. You can then apply this to even a child when the child is in the womb of the mother, the child is in darkness. This is why when Usia was saying triple darkness, you're dealing with, there are levels of darkness, because darkness is where you really thrive, because as the biblical stories go, God said, let there be light when he was in darkness. So the baby's in the womb in darkness. Then when they come out into this world, they're still in another state of darkness, because you're dealing with what we're calling night and day. So you see that darkness. But then when you come out of the planet, our planet, which is not governed by that whole cycle of the planet rotating around the sun, you're into another state of darkness where you're seeing many stars surrounded by darkness. And it's the same when you look at, when things leave this planet, like for example, your physical body will go back to the dust of the ground, but then your real being will continue on. And that dust then recycles when a mother is pregnant, to take that dust through the nose in terms of the small particles that she's breathing in. Why women that are pregnant get a lot of what you call sinus problems. But then that cycle then picks up the light or an etheric being, right? Which is coming by way of the sperm traveling up the what people call the kundalini or the chakra system, going from the root chakra where you're dealing with, sex, or the ejaculation, where that part that Colby was reading, where he's saying that, that's how life came about when you start to look at atom, relating it to atoms. But that light that is received when that energy reaches the pineal gland to receive the soul, that comes through and then comes back down the penis, and then that is then inserted into the mother with that light being that's coming from that darkness again, and that the mother's then impregnated, and then she grows that new being in darkness until she come and delivers that child into the world. So I just wanted to kind of like picture the cycles of life in terms of you grow, you expand, and then you go back to the dust of the ground, and then your soul goes on, and it's like a constant recycling or cycling. And you look at that in nature, look at that with the planetary bodies in terms of what we're talking about, the 24,000 year cycles. It's just explaining that, how you go from that, atom, aton, amon to nun, and that again continuously. I hope that's making sense, and I hope that's I did something. Tawa.
Appreciate it. Appreciate love. Sorry. Right. I've got Jackie on a question there. Are the East Indians a ether? No, they're sub-race, the East Indians. Is the Dravidians who are a ether. Sorry, no, what they call that, what they refer to as the Aborigines, they're a ether. The East Indians are actually a sub-race or hybrid race. that came away from the Aborigines, that were grafted from the Aborigines. Okay, so you have a lesser formula of ether for them. I hope that answers your question without going into too much detail because I'm conscious of the time. But if you want to find out more information on that, you can research what is called the physical ethers. Okay, pardon about it, I'm not put actual fact. I think it's Master Secrets. I'm not too sure. It's one of the two, and it's called the physical ethers, which breaks down the different etheric levels and etheric composition of these different species or race on the planet. Okay, Tammy McCrae asked a question, Rahubat. I know that we fast the first 3 days of the month, but do we also fast every Thursday of the month? Yes, we do. Reason for that is the Thursday is a night where certain energies come to the planet, and this was broken down many, many years ago in an update. So Thursday is one of the days where spiritual energy or energy, the green light comes to this planet and it bathes this planet. So it's just another way of us attuning ourselves into the universe that Partner Babyanun has explained to us. So yeah, we have many various rituals, the fasting, the chanting, et cetera, that you can apply to your daily life. Okay, so I hope that answers that question, Tammy McCrae. Saul has a question. Does every ejaculated sperm have soul even if they don't fertilize an egg? Okay. It will be one soul that will incarnate into that particular sperm, and that will make the journey from what I have been taught. I mean, Alyssa, can you got any other update or breakdown on that?
No, you're right. Unless it's a situation where you have twins, where you have identical twins, or you have what's the other one? Is it
Yeah, Siamese, I think, yeah.
Siamese twins? So in that
Yeah.
real occurrence, you will have, they're sharing a soul, but that's what happens. So a lot of the time, the ones that don't make it, they die, and then the one that does make it, like when you look at the sperm, you have the head and then you have the tail. The tail, it's like when we talk about the mitochondrial DNA, we always talk about the female being able to pass that from offspring to female offspring to female offspring. The male has it as well, but it doesn't get passed through because it breaks off. That's that part of it, and then yeah, but the one that makes is the one it's charged with that energy that we call soul, and that's why it's so important that even now people are having problems with like sperm count, and that's when people are no longer able to procreate and they're doing it on purposely in terms of the foods and all the things that men are eating. So a lot of men now are not their sperm count is lessening every time, and for the Europeans it was a design so that they, with their telomeres and so forth, that they won't be able to continue on after this 6,000 years, the last 6,000 year cycle. All right, I yield.
Total, appreciate love. There's a question from iPhone. It says, I'm not too sure if this is a typo or spelling error, but I don't understand your question. So can you rephrase that question or pose in a different way, or come on the mic and ask your question directly? Okay, any other questions while we've got the last few minutes? Anyone? Have your cup overfilled, is it now? Everyone's
that question, can Paul that incinerated par be sacrificed or go
yeah,
to
that's from iPhone. I didn't understand what that meant. I don't know what.
rephrase
Yeah,
the question.
yeah, please. Right. Okay. Any glass burning questions?
It's 21-21, 9-9.
21-21.
You got 9 minutes.
Yes, I think we've over flooded them with outformations. Okay.
Looks like it. Don't be shy. You
Yeah.
that burning question. People sometimes, because sometimes I try to remember, like when we went to class for the first time, or when new people,
Yeah.
sometimes people are, okay, there's a question.
Oh.
Does the 144 tie in with Jehovah's Witnesses? I'll let you take that.
Toe tack. All right. Right. So yeah, Rahobat so that's the 144 time of the Jehovah's Witnesses. Many religious groups have embraced or taken on this 144,000 because of what is mentioned in your biblical writings or the revelation that was given to John, son of Zebedee, on the Isles of Patmos. But so it's been interpreted by many different religious denominations over the course of time. So one of them being your Jehovah's Witnesses, who predicted that the 144,000 were going to be uplifted and taken by Jehovah after a particular cycle of the beginning of their belief. I don't know when. I think it was 1940 something. I think when the Jehovah's Witnesses started their movement. Oh no, sorry, 18. I can't remember the exact date. So yeah, don't quote me on that. I mean, you can do a research on that. But the 144, if you refer to the 144,000, that's not just a biblical reference. Do you see what I'm saying? That predates your biblical reference. There's many cultures, Mayas, etc., certain sacred texts that talk about 144,000. So literally, it's a marker in reference to certain beings or people who have raised themselves to a certain level that will be taken out of this realm while the earth goes through its catastrophe and goes through its cleansing process. Okay, so that's just a number that when we even teach regarding Wu-Sabat and the 144,000, the true essence of that for us as Nagaru is that there's 144,000 who are going to be the elite that will be raised to a certain level. And that's where most religious denominations have taken that to mean what it says in Revelation. Okay. So again, this is just a biblical reference, but it's taken from older text. Okay. And just being just one, the males is just one of them regarding the removing of certain people who have raised themselves. Then they talk about the tribe of Israel, who are 12,000 from one tribe, 12,000 from another tribe, which makes up the 104,000 again. So again, it's like I said, it's a biblical reference, but it's actually taken from ancient or older text, okay, referring to that number. Okay, but it's, religion has taken on board like they're the ones who are going to be taken. What took place though with 144,000 was when obviously the time is not gonna allow me to explain everything, but just know this, that certain extraterrestrials known as the Anunnaki under a particular leader known as Nanar came and was abducted 144,000, okay, or up to 300,000, which is going to be abducted on a daily or I think yearly basis, and they will be taken for food. So the 144,000 has two types of meanings. One where extraterrestrial will be taken 144,000 for food, and another where they've been raised to be the elite that will come back to teach, etc. But it's all being confused within the book of Revelation unless you're reading it and understanding the allegory and also the literal language, because it's the language is the key to understanding who's who, because it's not just talking about one figure called Christ, because a Christ can be anyone who's anointed. So for instance, when they're talking about the Christ that's coming back with blood vested, etc., that's not the savior of humanity. That's actually a devourer of humanity known as Nana. Nana is that Christ that is going to be coming back, who's the anointed cherub. And you can find this in the book of Ezekiel, talking about the anointed cherub, okay, and what he is and what he's about. Okay, so a lot of things are being misconstrued in your religious text. Okay, gonna quickly jump to Jackie. How is our marriage supposed to be conducted? Dress, attire, ceremony, choosing a mate. Jackie, if you refer to the Gospel of Yanun, okay, of the Sacred Feminine, that answer will be in there. If you don't have it, I'm not too sure if it's in the store, but you can look around and search other stores in around America, etc., the US, to try and find a copy
Jamal?
of the. Yes, Tua.
Yeah, I just wanted to. I know our nature of our people. Everyone's waiting to the last few minutes, and we're getting a lot of questions.
Yeah, get bombarded.
I wanted to just touch on the Jehovah Witness system quickly.
Okay.
What a lot of people don't realize, or they don't take the time to study, is that Jehovah Witnesses were literally just a group of people that started as Bible students, founded by a guy called Charles Russell.
Tazora.
Yeah, and he is a Mason. He was a Mason, and a lot of Jehovah's Witnesses don't even realize this, but you can actually do some research into that, and it's like a lot of the things they said never came true, and what they ended up doing is creating their own Bible to kind of like support what they teach. So a lot of the times they will tell you they only go by their own Bible, and that's very convenient because then within their Bible they teach something that is completely different to the original, well, the closest to the original of what they say of the scriptures. So I just wanted to kind of add that in. But yeah, if you want to take any of the last two questions before.
Tazama, yeah. Yeah, what you want to take one and I'll take one, or you're
Yeah,
quite
why
happy
not?
to.
We're up tuning today.
Okay, you can take the last one from Sol.
Okay.
Regarding the Mayans, were they seated by Alelu and he took them or take with him some of them? Okay, your Alelu story, it ties in with the Mayans because the word Maya means illusions. There's two aspects to that story. The ancient within the ancient text of Alelu, Alelu made many of some of these tribes in Mesoamerica, or known as ancient Mexico, etc. Okay, so he was making and grafting his own race of humanoids, and some of these tribes still exist in the deep forests of South America, where they disappear into different caverns, etc., and have been able to evade Western civilization, the detection of them. So there are tribes that still exist there and have just made themselves remotely inaccessible. But also the other part of that is that these Mayans, when the Olmecs were there, because of what they were doing, especially doing blood sacrifices and things like that, they were also removed by the Olmecs and sent to a place called Cambodia and other places in the where is it now? Where is it called? That land. So again, can you remember if you can assess me? Where they were moved to. There was two. There was I think it's Cambodia is one of the areas, and there's another place I can't remember. But when they were removed, so that's two of the things that happened to them. The ancient story of them being taken from this planet to Mars by Alelu, and there's another part where the Olmecs also banished them to certain regions of Eastern Asia. Okay, and this way you get your. I think I'm not too sure it's Kuala Lumpur or one of those where you get all these like dragon and jade and one of the alignment of these places lines up with the Draco star system because they were being basically influenced by extraterrestrials who were blood drinkers, and they were into blood sacrifices, etc. And this is what they were teaching the Mayans by way of their high priests. So you had that aspect going on. Then you also had the Spanish and
We've lost you again, Lucia. We've lost his sound. Yeah, so let me pick up until he gets back there because we've literally run out of time. The last two questions are the people who locked up. This is from iPhone. Are the people who locked up the master teacher still here? See, one of the things that we encourage people to do is, and it kind of ties into the last question as well, is that you need to come close and be a part of the fight. A lot of people stay outside and ask questions about what's going on with the master's legal. And when we say the people who locked up the master, it's not like, who are we talking about? Are you talking about the conspirators or the people that actually went to, to the officials and made up a story? Or you're talking about the actual people who have locked him up is the forces in the principalities in high places. This is dealing with, the prisoners, dealing with the case is really between the American government and us. All right. So people need to come close and like really literally stop hiding in the shadows and be a part of the family and be in the know. We have what monthly calls where we get legal updates and things from, the legal team. So if people are really interested in knowing about what's going on with the master teacher's case, it's not really about what happened in the past. It's about what's happening now and what we're doing, and those who want to see him free are doing to help or doing to bring him home, right? When you say, should we be afraid of the Masons? Again, the we, don't know who we're saying we is, because with Wu-Sabat, as you know, we're very specific. If you're talking about we as Sabians or Musbatu, we're not afraid of anything. We're taught not to be afraid of anything, period. And when you say Masons, there are different types of Masons, just like there are different types of Christians, Muslims, Jews, people in general, right? So it depends on what you know as a Mason and which Masons you're talking about. Of course, you've got European or Euro Masonry, which is a completely different thing to the origins of Masonry, which is like we're saying where everything has been distorted, right? Or, misinterpreted, misinformation to fool the masses. So you have to be one who is actually interested in knowing and not just being out there just like it's not affecting you. Because what's happened to the master teacher, if it can happen to him of all people that has that level of information, the things he has done in terms of the communities he's built, the amount of people he's reached around the world. And he was literally saying to people, this can happen to any of you. And from the time, and he was talking to people in the South as well, in Georgia and the churches and celebrities and all of that. And Lord and behold, if you start to look at the string of people that, have had to go through legal, I'm talking about people like Bill Cosby, you're going to start to see that there is no one that is infallible in terms of them coming for you when you're spreading and teaching the truth and things like that. However, when we come together in unity and put our energy and our power together, we are a force to be reckoned with, and we're not supposed to be afraid of anyone, because truth is truth and truth will always prevail. So I'm passionate about this subject when it comes to the master teacher, of course. So, come in the fight. That's why I'm saying it's about now. It's about what are we doing now to get him home. And we have obviously the 100 project. We have other things happening, but you have to come close and be around the family so that you will be in the know, because not everything that goes on internally, we're going to divulge publicly. So if you're really interested about master's situation, then come and do your part, So on that note, unless there's any last burning questions, I'm going to leave it there. And if you're a Nuwapian man in the UK, especially, we're meeting tomorrow. We have the meetings for real men that want to actually get involved and be a part of the building project. The sisters are involved too, but obviously we have separate meetings and come together as necessary. But I'm saying that to say that people that, there are people who just want information, just want to read the books, ask questions, and we've been doing that for over 50 years and still doing it, and we'll continue to do it. But there's more to just reading the books, attending classes, you can help, you can do something, you know, you can share the videos, you can subscribe to the channels, you can come in and be part of the family and help bring your skills, your knowledge, and let's work together to bring the master home. And then, you know, the rest is history, as they say. But the most important thing is he's still alive. You know, he's not in the best place that anyone would want to be, but he's holding on for us to show by our love and our unity that everything he has done, sacrificed, and taught us, that we're going to put it into practice. It's not just lip service, it's also action. Action is showing or doing. That's the ashuk. All right. So I'm not going to keep preaching at you, but I'm just saying to say, you know, come home, let's get together as family. It doesn't matter what background you're coming from, whether you've been a Muslim, a Christian, a Jew, Nation of Islam, Hebrew Israelite, whatever, it doesn't matter. The day and time we're living in and where we're going with things that are being implemented going forward between now and 2030, we really do need each other. We need to come together because we are literally all we got. All right. So I want to thank everyone for attending today's class. And yeah, our love goes out to Habtuir. Hope everything's fine. He had an issue why I couldn't make it today. But yeah, thank you all. Until next week, same time, same place. Remember, we have the live on Tuesdays on YouTube, OSM Vision, 7 p.m. So you can tune in there and ask your questions as well. And you do your part. Share it. Let, you know, each one teach one. Save at least one person, one soul every day, every week, every month, every year. All right. Wadu Musa.
Wadu,
Wadu,
thank
what,
you.
Wadu, Tautas.
Wadu, Tawata, Wadu Masa,
Wadu.
Taukum.
Taukum,
Wadu.
Taukum.
Wadu.